Not long ago, Tiff and I chatted on the show about the most difficult jobs there are that exist. And we heard it all. You know, pilot, people say control tower person, teacher, tough job, firefighter, active military duty.
Yeah, but there was one job that we heard the most often, and that was being a parent. So today, we offer help from three guys, all dads, all passionate about helping other people be better parents. So here they are.
First, we have Dr. John Duffy. He's a clinical psychologist, certified life coach, and parenting expert. Who doesn't want to know a parenting expert, right? He wrote this book. It's called The Available Parent, and he has been working with teens for more than 15 years. Next, we have Jim Higley. He's a nationally recognized writer and radio host. His book, Bobblehead Dad, is a winning finalist in the International Book Award. He's a single dad with 3 kids. Jeff Wenzler is the founder and director of a character and leadership development program for young people. He has worked with middle school through college-age kids around the world for a long time. Hi, guys.
Hey. You guys are a handsome bunch of dads.
I was thinking the same thing.
I bet you were.
He was saying the same thing.
To himself in the mirror before you came out. I'm good. I look great. People love me. little Stuart
Nice to have you guys.
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live skit going on.
Well, thanks for being here. You know, you guys are all parenting experts, and we heard it resounding. That was the answer on Facebook, that the hardest job that people feel they could ever have is being a parent. And you guys are putting on this event, which we'll talk about more in general, but 3D parenting is the name of it. What is a 3D parent? What does it mean to take on that type of parenting?
Oh, and first we want to say, because our producer will get mad at us if I don't say this, hold on one second, Jot. We want to let you ask some questions, so we posted on Facebook what the 3 amigos, as I like to call them, can answer your questions. So as you're hearing this discussion, if you have any questions, put them on Facebook and we'll answer them in just a couple minutes when we come back from a commercial break. But Jeff, go ahead, this 3D parenting event.
Yep, so 3D parenting, it's a straightforward approach for a parenting forum where it's a conversation, a nice dialogue with the 3 of us, because we have a unique perspective with multidimensional results. And the 3D is the 3 dads. It's the 3 things that connect the 3 of us. And we've all had great results in our different professions with working with teens.
And you have kids ranging in age. You have the youngest, I think, Jeff,
4, 6, and 8.
4, 6, and 8.
Okay.
Jim, you have how old now?
Mine are 17, 21, and 23.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
And John?
Just 17.
Yeah, so you got a teenager. We've met him. So you're in the thick of things, having a teenager. Let's talk a little bit about who you think will be at this event. And I'm going to be moderating it next week, Monday night, and it's at Concordia. I'm looking forward to it. I always think with things like this, all you're going to see is moms. No dads will show up. What do you think?
You know, traditionally, I think that's exactly it, that there usually are an overwhelming presence of moms. But we also believe that as 3 fathers and 3 dads that professionally work with young people and with parents, that might be enough to encourage some more men to participate in this type of discussion. Not where we're lecturing, but where we're having a good dialogue. So Starting Point Ozaki and Positive Parent Involvement along with Concordia have teamed up with us and said, we'll help you get the word out to get more people at this type of an event.
I think it's great, and I think it's interesting to find men who've really focused their lives and their careers on parenting. You don't always see that, and I think it's a really positive step forward for a lot of men who are doing that in their lives and for you guys in your lives. Why did you decide to choose to focus your lives and your careers on being a parent and helping others be better parents? Jim?
Well, for me, I had a midlife crisis, and that midlife crisis was called cancer. And truthfully, that just, you know, like all of us have certain things. I was 44. I was diagnosed with advanced cancer. I was a single dad raising kids alone. It was hard to not come out of that without an Oprah aha moment. And that aha was my kids. You know, and I was a good dad. I feel like my kids might debate that, but I was a good dad. But I realized at that point there was something more, and so I really changed my whole approach to how I parented. And that's where I am now. You know, it's a journey.
What would be something specific? If you changed your approach, what is something that changed?
Number one thing, not to discourage people from coming, because this is a really important thing that I'll give away at the event next week. But the number one thing I learned, truthfully, is we don't have to fix everything for our children all the time. In fact, we shouldn't fix everything for our kids. And that for me was a real big revelation coming out of corporate America, where my job every day, 9 to 5, was to solve problems, strategize, give people directions. With kids, there's a huge value in listening and letting them work their way through the mud. a lot.
See, and I think that's fascinating. Well, a lot of things you just said are fascinating, but coming out of the corporate world, I was shocked, John, to find out that you were an accountant by education initially. You don't seem like a numbers guy to me.
This is a little kept
The
secret.
vest might give you away.
Yeah, the best. But you all have that corporate experience. Jeff, you were in pharmaceutical sales as a rep. You come from the corporate world, an accountant. Yet you all ended up in a profession where you're helping in different ways other people parent and working with young people. And what will shock people, John, is that you like working with teenagers.
I do.
And I like that you're out there and you say that.
I do. I love working with teenagers. I think teenagers kind of get a bad rap. I think we've decided, oh, this is a lost generation. These are difficult people. It's this rap they've had forever. It's probably a rap we had when we were teenagers. But they're really remarkable when you get to know them. And I think as, you know, loving, well-intentioned parents, sometimes we miss that because we get anxious trying to make things perfect, like Jim was saying a moment ago.
Well, yeah, and you know, Jim, it's like with younger kids, and Jeff's probably felt this a little bit with an 8-year-old. If my kids leave their lunch, I want to start crying, especially if it's later in the day and I can't bring it to school. And our principle's clear. If they leave their band instrument at home or their lunch or their homework, leave it at home. It's their responsibility. Now, your kids are a little older and you have a teen, John.
I do.
Isn't it hard to let kids fail? Because I know you feel passionate about this too, Jeff, letting kids fail.
It's really hard, but what better time, what other time, what choice do we have but to let them fail while we've still got them, while we can be available as guides and consultants to them, as opposed to 5-10 years from now when they are on their own. And if they fail, they are going to hit the ground hard. Now they've got us. If they need us, they've got us. But it's still their competence. It's not ours. It's not us running that band instrument over. They've got to figure out, okay, how do I accommodate for this during the day?
It's interesting, too, to me how deep parents take that. I'm not a parent, so I'm kind of the single woman out here, you know, for some of the things that you say. But my mom
would be like, hey, they forgot their lunch. No big whoop.
I'm really great at telling parents what to do, but but my mom was just here for 8 days, and we had, you know, I've had conversations with her over the past years about certain things that she felt if she could only have helped me with that. She holds those things that she feels oftentimes, why didn't I just help her? I could have saved that heartache for her, but she won't. And so, John, with that too, and you as well, Jeff, what do you think is the biggest mistake? You know, we heard what Jim says. What kind of mistake do you think is the biggest one that parents make? And is it that? Is it the failing?
To my thinking, it is that we get so anxious about failing that we lecture at our kids instead of listening to them.
That's right.
So we talk at them and we think, I have a very narrow window to get this message through to them, so I'm going to keep talking and talking and maybe they'll hear it, instead of letting them do and fail and figure it out.
You know, I 100% agree. And the other thing I would add to that is I think so many of us parents place our value on our children. And so we want our kids to succeed so much because it makes us look good or feel good. And that's a real problem that we have to address as parents. We're not our kids. Our kids are their own people.
Closing thought on that, Jeff, and then we're going to take a break.
Yeah, each one of our kids, you know, has a vocational call. There's something that is unique to them, and somehow we have to let that unfold, to let that unpack. And honestly, what brings you joy, what are you good at, and where is there a need in the world? Those are 3 things I stress to all the teens that I work with so that they can connect some dots and say, this is what I'm good at, this is what brings me joy, and this is where it actually plays out in the world.
I love that. Giving teens a sense of purpose. I just had that conversation with my nephew this last Friday, and it's so important. We're going to have you guys stick around. We posted on Facebook, as Molly said, that the 3 amigos, as she likes to call them, are going to answer your questions after the break. What do you want to know about dealing with a teenager or tween or 20-something in your house? We'll have a chance to answer your questions when we come back.
Welcome back. Our dad panel of parenting experts here, Dr. John Duffy, Jim Higley, and Jeff Wensler. They're the 3 J's. And they've agreed to answer your questions. Thanks, you guys, for being here.
Thank you.
I know, Jeff, you're a little uncomfortable with the parenting expert thing. But it cracks me up because he's like, well, if you see me at the grocery store, you won't think I'm a parenting expert. This is so cute. Okay, so we heard from Selena. Why don't you take this, John? My 15-year-old son won't listen. He tries to run the household. I see his attitude. My youngest boys, they're 4 and 6. And the saddest part is my 1.5-year-old is getting his attitude and talks back. And I can see this because I have a teenager now and then 2 younger kids, and you do worry that that attitude rubs off.
Yeah. Well, one thing I find is the 15-year-olds, teenagers, their younger siblings affect them. And if you let them know, hey, your modeling is affecting your younger brother, younger sister, he may or may not respond to that. Sticking true to my word, though, I would really focus on, okay, so you've got a 15-year-old boy here. How do we want him to respond? How do we draw a good response from him? And it really is listening more than talking at him to see, okay, buddy, what kind of need is this fulfilling in you? You don't ask that, but if you can get him talking about it instead of telling him, you can't do this and this is why, you might get to some idea of what's underneath it all for him. You know what I mean? And that's really kind of, to my thinking, the most important thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's really about that conversation and listening and having a dialogue, it sounds.
Definitely.
Okay, this one may or may not be a dialogue because it involves younger kids. And Jeff, I know this is kind of up your alley. So Christina asks, how do we get a 3-year-old to respect our respect the parents and not be so rough with her 14-month brother? Timeouts aren't working. They're putting her in a room and they close the gate to keep her in and she goes crazy. And they don't start that 3-minute timer until she initially calms down. They said she is good at getting what she wants. Is it her fault, and how can they change it?
Great question. And first of all, I would think that timeouts are almost like triage, right? You have to separate the kids. So if they have to go into a room, of course, that's an important thing. But I feel that getting them focused on something else, on a project together, I mean, it's kind of strange to say we should all have hugs, but if you can get, my 2 kids to hug each other and actually working on a project, right? To say, hey, look, let's make cookies together. Let's do Legos together, and be like, you know what? You're actually hurting somebody. You don't want to play rough with your younger brother. That seems to work. So, really sharing that with them.
I like that.
Diverting.
Yeah, diverting I think is good. And a lot of parents just put them in a room, and I've done that. My kids have, sometimes it works. Some kids, they do go crazy. And so I think having something to do to occupy some brain space is a good idea.
And that's not a reward. It's just diverting.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, this question is from Sandra. Jim, how do I motivate my 20-year-old? I think a lot of people struggle with that post-teen, and it's like, are they working? Are they in school? Like, come on, get up and do something.
And yours are what, 21 and 23?
21, 23, and 17. So I've been through that, and you know what? 20-year-old's an adult. Let's face it. And so I think the first part of the question, or the answer, I would encourage the parent who posed it is for them to look closely at themselves and how they are parenting. Are they enabling the situation? Are they doing, be honest with yourself. Are you contributing to the mess? Are you doing all the laundry? Are you doing all the cooking? Are you letting your, you gotta be honest about yourself. You can't expect change unless you're really setting a tone. Second thing is, because your child's an adult, you need to have adult conversations. Not yelling, not screaming. We know rule number 1, don't do that. But put the topic out there on the table with your child. Let them know that you'd like to talk about it. Give them a chance to think about what's important to them. Don't corner them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Schedule a time to talk to them about this topic. And maybe you need a contract. Maybe you need to have a contract with that child about what you're prepared to do as their parent. You can stay here, you can live in my house, but these are the rules, these are the timeline, these are your obligations, these are the consequences. You need to be very diligent about the agreement in terms of that part of your life. It will pay off because it'll motivate them to move forward and really be on their own.
Later.
I like that. Okay, here's one that I think is on the forefront of all topics right now, especially with the Green Bay cheerleader who was just on the Today Show. Julie says, what do you tell a teen to do when they're being bullied by their teammates? People who should be sticking by their side, especially if a coach is not helping the situation or not sticking up for them. John?
Jim and I were just talking about this, and the first impulse we had was, wow, that's always so sad.
It is.
And it feels sad, right? One thing I learned is when you talk to kids about it, usually that is the underlying feeling, but there's usually something else going on as well, so you want to understand their experience. One thing I've learned lately that I didn't know is that sometimes the bullied kid bullies other kids too, so they play multiple roles, so it's really complex. So first you want to understand, and then there's this opportunity you have to connect with your kid and brainstorm about, okay, how best can we handle this? And I think that opens up that conversation that I always want parents and kids to have to kind of mitigate that issue.
So there's no blanket answer of this is what you should do. It's going to be individual to that teen and what they feel comfortable doing?
Almost always, in my mind. You may feel differently.
No, I don't feel differently. Circumstance, the overriding issue with bullying in our country is education. We have to get the subject out and talk about it early about how we treat each other. when you have a specific issue like this as a parent, you're in crisis. I mean, you are not sleeping as a parent.
Right.
Your life is turned upside down because your child is being hurt. You can't necessarily fix it by yourself would be the first thing I'd say is you are not the police. You are not, do not be afraid to go seek help from school officials. And if you don't, keep going up the ladder. If you're not getting help from the guidance counselor, the social worker, the principal, keep going back.
I
agree.
That's a
Don't
great
stop.
point to end on.
I'm going to give the information again for this great event that you guys have coming up because it's happening a week from today from 7 to 9 p.m. Monday night, February 18th. You can RSVP by going to the website that you see there at the bottom of your screen. It's at Concordia University, the Terrace room. And if people don't know where that is, they can go to the website, right?
They can go to that website or pivotaldirections.org, and there's a little bit more background information, as well as Molly Faye will be our moderator that evening, so that'll be fantastic.
Excited. Thanks, you guys. And that was an email address. I'm sorry, it was not a website. It was an email address that you can go to RSVP for the event next week. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, you guys were
Thank you.
fantastic.
Thank you.
Really awesome.
You'll come back?
Absolutely.
Anytime.
Sure.
Perfect. We love it. Thank you.